Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gooner Profile, Episode 2. I'm Kyle alongside with Joel. This week we have Winn from the Nashville Gooners. Last week we had Katie from Arsenal NYC. Check that episode out if you get a chance on our channel. But again, like I said, we're happy to welcome Winn from the Nashville Gooners. We'll get started right away here this week. Won't lead you in with what this show is all about. I think you'll figure it out as you watch. But Winn, welcome to you. And just give us a rundown of how you became an Arsenal supporter. What was the big pull for you to get you falling as a Gooner?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate y'all having me on. And I would say, as someone from the South, I became an Arsenal fan probably in the same way that many Southerners become Arsenal fans, which is FIFA. I had a roommate of mine who would play constantly, and he. I had been raised on NCAA and Madden and all these sort of things, and so I'd tend to, beat him pretty regularly in that. So he started complaining about, oh, well, I'm so much better at FIFA. I got to play FIFA, and so we play FIFA, and of course I have a very basic general knowledge of soccer at this point, and so he was playing as Chelsea. Apparently, that was his team from his days when he was an intern at London, and so he would just beat me like a drum as I continually tried to cycle through the teams of trying to find the perfect team that could somehow beat him. I went through Liverpool and Man City, Man United, and finally I settled on Arsenal. And I think the turning point, or the moment that I suppose I became an Arsenal fan, is when Alexis Sanchez scored a goal for me in FIFA to beat him and finally allow me to have bragging rights in the house. And so from that point on, we'd both been interested in Premier League soccer just as something to watch and something to talk about, something to connect about. And we had heard that in Nashville there was a British pub that showed the games. And, of course, with it being Central Time, as you Eastern Time guys know, most of these were pretty early. So it was something that I kind of gradually got into. The excuse of drinking at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the morning is always a plus. And so I started going to the games. I started going with one of my graduate school cohorts. One of the guys that I found out was also a big Arsenal fan. We was staying with him in a dorm one day, and I noticed that he had a big old Arsenal banner across. And I was like, hey, I've heard about this place, Fleet Street. Do you want to go down and watch a game sometime? And so we started going down, I'd say about this time last year, honestly. And I'm very, very recent to the Arsenal fandom. And we started going down to those games and watching them. And just the atmosphere and of the Nashville Gooners is something that's just, it's so much fun. You almost instantly get hooked. We were in there for a couple of games and got to know some of the guys behind the Nashville Gooners, and we're just very impressed with both the level of commitment that they had and also just the ability to gather everybody in the city. So every time I got a chance, I'd recommend it to people. I'd say, hey, if you're looking to do something Saturday morning, come on down to Fleet Street and watch the game with us. And that's how it's been for about a year now at this point. So it's still very new to the fandom, but
yeah. Since you're so new, was there any competition especially when you went down to the pub? Were there other clubs there supporting?
Well, that's the interesting thing. So there are a couple, as Nashville is kind of an up and coming city. There are certainly British style pubs all over the city, but it seemed like Fleet Street was the only one that was really open for some of those really early games. Unless it was a Sunday afternoon game, which happened to be on during the NFL. Some of these pubs might have it on, but really Fleet Street, with the exception of just the odd Chelsea fan and maybe a couple Tottenham fans during the early days of the North London derby, those might be the only times that you see them, but it's almost a predominantly Arsenal bar. You get folks that are coming in droves to watch the game, and then the minute the game's over, they're clearing out. They're not just staying to watch Premier Leagues. And most of the times when you play some of these top teams, you don't find that a lot of their fans are there, except for people who may be just traveling through the area and heard this is the place to catch Man United play, or this is the place to catch Man City play. So it's almost predominantly Arsenal, I would say, the bar that shows the games.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead, go.
Yeah, I think being a fan with the history of the club and so much that goes behind it. So many families, grow up supporting the club and kind of do it together each weekend. That's true about American sports as well, but it seems like more so over in England and around football in general. What would you say has been the most interesting thing, or the most the most enjoyment or fun you've gotten out of like just learning about the club in general? Just obviously, there's that one hook that you mentioned with Alexis Sanchez and just playing FIFA, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that. But what's maybe been the coolest fact that you've learned about the club, like after the fact that you became a fan, and you're just kind of like, well, that's really cool, and I'm glad. I think I made the right choice.
I think the thing that's always really stuck with me is learning. And again, coming from kind of an SEC culture where every football coach seemingly has a term limit of about 4 years unless he's just consistently winning. I think the more that I heard the story of Arsene Wenger, and learning about him, watching interviews, watching documentaries about him, I think that's what's really kind of just drawn me fully in of being an Arsenal fan, is saying, this is somebody that, I would love to have coaching me, or this is somebody that I would love to have coaching. If he coached college football, like I would want an Arsene Wenger type of player, this kind of this man who is very poetic in the way that he describes the game, but is also very loyal to the players that he's decided. And so I think that doing the research, I think him as a manager has really been what's kind of kept me just like, wow, this is really a special club here. This is not just some Premier League team. Again, it's by kind of luck of the draw in FIFA, but it definitely, the staying power, I'd say, is just everything that Arsene's done for the team and everything that I've learned about how much of an impact he's had for the past, 20, 21 years at this point. I mean, it's an incredible legacy that he leaves, and it's something that even as a very new supporter, you can be extremely proud of when talking to other Premier League fans. Yeah.
So for supporting Arsenal for about a year, what would be your best memory then over the year? Your favorite memory?
No question, the North London derby, the one where they had the man with the red car, the sending off, and Arsenal was down by 1 goal, and Alexis Sanchez scored that goal to tie it back up. That not only clinched for me that moment of like, oh yeah, Arsenal fan for sure, but also, there's no question that Alexis Sanchez is my favorite player. And in passing it on to my girlfriend, I've dragged my girlfriend. She's been a good enough sport to wake up that early in the mornings and watch some of the games with me. She's almost taken my love of Alexis Sanchez as a player and doubled it. She has a little nickname for him. She calls him her little Chilean nugget, and she has stolen the jersey that I ordered. Luckily, it was a medium size, so it fits her a lot better than it does me. So that was definitely the North London derby of, I think it would have been January or February this past year, was just such an incredible game to watch, and just such a lot of fun to see, because there were some Tottenham fans in the bar, and they made plenty of noise as Tottenham took the lead. But when Arsenal came back to draw even, I mean, that was just an incredible atmosphere in the bar. I haven't matched it since, honestly.
Yeah, does that hold a candle to any SEC rivalries? Or
that one's tough, because the only way that I've heard a lot of, because again, you don't interact a lot with a lot of Tottenham fans in just a daily setting here in Nashville. So most of that I've found has been on the internet, just in little memes or little Instagram accounts or little Reddit subreddits, fans talking trash to each other. I mean, I'm sure that if Tottenham won the Premier League, there would be a lot of those, what we like to call in the SEC, those kind of Walmart fans, the ones that went out and bought the T-shirt at Walmart and, never went to Alabama or never had heard of Harry Kane before this. But, now that they're Premier League champions, they're jumping on the bandwagon. I could certainly see that happening. But I think it's an incredible rivalry, and one that I've certainly relished watching and will definitely relish watching this upcoming weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So with a supporters group like the Nashville Gooners, and I mean, really anywhere in the country, what's your elevator speech to someone that comes to the bar, but they're not necessarily a Gooner yet? They're just, I don't know what the background of that bar is, if they're strictly a soccer pub or what, but what's your elevator speech to someone that comes in there, or even on the street that is interested in the Premier League but maybe doesn't have an allegiance yet?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I definitely interact with folks that are traveling through the city a lot, just in my day-to-day life. Whether it's, I work sometimes as a historic interpreter over at Andrew Jackson's presidential home, and you'll see surprisingly a lot of English people are very interested in Andrew Jackson. So I'll ask them usually on Saturdays or Sundays, kind of after I get done with the tour. It's like, so what's next for you guys? And they're kind of like, oh, and I was like, well, and it's hard to recommend it to them, because it's like, if you went to Japan and you're like, hey, America Town, that's a pretty awesome place to go eat. You should check it out. But, but for people that are people that just have a passionate interest in it. I think the best thing, honestly, to get them hooked in that sort of situation, and what I found with my girlfriend and what I found with a couple of my friends, is just taking them there and just letting them sit down and be a part of the atmosphere, be a part of the chanting, be a part of the cheering, be a part of the London Pride at 6 o'clock in the morning. In terms of a speech itself, I don't think that I can do it as much justice just because of the short time that I've been a fan, as much as I can of them just taking the friends, taking the family to the bar, or recommending it to the people, saying, look, if you are looking for something fun to do in this city, it's a little bit early. I always start with that. It's mostly going to be pretty early, but if you were looking for a great way to kick off your weekend, have a lot of fun, enjoy company with a lot of like-minded people, and just enjoy one hell of a soccer game, please do come down to Fleet Street, watch the game, enjoy it, and who knows, maybe the magic will work in them and they will become part of the converted flock. But that's that's all depending on how they're playing on any given day. So
right, yeah, that's how it works.
Absolutely.
Well, Winn, really great talking to you.
Absolutely.
For the most part, we were kind of keeping all these things to 8 to 10 minutes, and we like we said to Katie last week on episode 1, we could talk for an hour to any one person.
Absolutely.
When we get going on this stuff, and especially new fans, and gosh, Joel and I have been fans for 20 years, but gosh, you kind of learn something new every day, don't you, with Arsenal, and just the majesty of Alexis, the majesty of Ozil against team, in the middle of the night somewhere. It's certainly a great club to be a part of. We appreciate the time, and give the Nashville Gooners our best.
Absolutely. And if I'm really quick, I may just say my appreciation to y'all. As a new fan, one of the best ways that I've kept updated and learned a little bit about the history as well has been listening to y'all's podcast. So I appreciate everything that y'all have done thus far, and have continued to expand my knowledge and a little bit of my commentary at the bar from time to time. So I appreciate that, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. No problem.
Yeah. Thank you. Spread the word.
Absolutely. Will do.
All right. Take care, Winn. Thanks a lot.
All right. Y'all too.
All right, Kyle. Well, great.
Yeah.
2 for 2 here. Not that we're ever going to have a bad interview or a bad Gooner profile, but it really, like you said, it really is interesting. You learn something new from everybody, and hopefully that, I'm interested if we go west, west of the country here, we find any other Western rivalry nuances, some new way they can compare the North London Derby to something out west. I don't know. I don't know why I'm on a Western tangent, but
I think we'll get there eventually. That's for sure. We have quite the list stacking up of people that would like to join us on the Gooner profile. If you'd like to do that, the link is in the description below. You can sign up. It's probably going to be a 2017 date at this point. Because we are going to commit to doing this every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. live, and of course you can watch us on demand, which is likely the way you're watching us now. But if you like what you see, if you don't like what you see, please leave us your feedback. We want to know what your thoughts are, for one, and of course want to make it as entertaining, as informative, to get to know other Gooners around the globe, particularly in the United States, as possible. So again, thanks to Winn and the Nashville Gooners there. Next week we got Jason from the Cleveland Gooners. Hopefully he and Cleveland aren't reeling too badly from what seems to be perhaps a Cubs win in the World Series as we're recording this live. But we date stamped this particular recording a little bit. But anyhow, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday night at 10 p.m. with Jason from the Cleveland Gooners. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Please check out the podcast, do all the other things that you might do in order to make sure
you do on YouTube. Just touch every button underneath the video. Yeah.
Right. So subscribe on my face somewhere. Check out the other videos, and check out all our great sponsors and everything in the description below. We'll see you next week.